It's gonna be jelly. Jelly.
Oh, I wouldn't mind eating jelly.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
I do eat enough yoga, I feel kind of jelly,
Oh, all right, for you, that's, okay.
but I'm getting all.
I think jelly is
Oh, I'm always jelly then.
not pointing to you.
I know, I like to joke about it, that's part of the reason I won't do this more like intentionally. I like to have those jokes, they're just on.
I can't wait to be over.
What?
Oh, season.
Really, I like this?
I did like it at one time,
No, you don't.
not that I finally get it, so that I don't like the way I feel while I'm going through it.
Ah, I get it. I do, I
tried
don't do that.
last week.
Like I used to, family got together,
They were.
Christmas, we would do
Yeah.
a movie and Chinese food like everyone else. And then we'd all like just have like, we'd have like leftovers and. It's like, yeah, there are traditions. There is an American way to celebrate, not celebrate, but. Who doesn't like beautiful like?
Alrighty,
It's completely artificial.
good morning. How's everybody doing?
Thank you.
Good. Okay, I feel like we're like, okay.
We're small.
That's you.
I know, that is really awkward. Yeah, no, I get it.
But now if you have to go two places.
I'm at the tennis match, but I feel good about it. It's fine. I can do it. I can do it. Okay, so this morning we are heading into another amazing episode and few scenes that we will look at. But again, we're following the themes of complex family relationships and dynamics. Interesting sibling shtick that we are going to unpack. And we are going to explore a really interesting moment that happens. Hi, good morning, come on in. Interesting moment that happens. How are you? We have Torah books if you'd like an actual book. I'm also gonna put it on the screen, but however anyone wants. The Torah books are behind Marsha. Marsha's are, here, Marsha, show where the Torah books are behind you. There we go. So the portion today, Vayeshev, is we're going to be introduced to the story of Joseph. This is where we meet Joseph and his brothers. We meet Yaakov, Jacob, differently than we saw him last week. Okay. And we're going to get to know a little bit about him and Joseph and his brothers. And this begins our people's journey into what will later take us to Egypt and into slavery eventually. But this is the beginning of that story. This takes us from where we currently are and will lead us to Egypt. And what's interesting is all the different moments that happen along the way that lead us there. All right, so if you think about your life and you think about, if you pause for a moment to think of the moments that have forced you to pivot, moments that have redirected you, or moments in which you stop and pause to reflect and to think, but also then continue on the same path. We all can point to those kinds of moments that have shifted our course, that have changed our perspective, that have led us somewhere new, brought us back to some place of note. And whether it's a physical turning, a spiritual turning, an intellectual turning, those pivots, those moments, those threshold opportunities, those breaks along the way, they all lead us on a certain path and create moments of memory along our journey. That's going to happen in today's portion. And we're going to stop and we're going to pause there and we're going to dive into it. Okay? But I want us to really think about, as we study these words of Vayeshev, just like we normally do, as we are reading, what do we hear? What is interesting? What forces us to pause, and most importantly, what questions does the text force us to ask? Okay. If you want a physical book, the books are right behind Marsha, where it says Torah. If not, it's going to be on the screen. Everyone's good? Good morning. Okay. So let's do it. Parsha Vayeshev. We are in, if you have your book, we're in the book of Genesis, Remember, this is all part of our Torah exploration. Book of Genesis, chapter 37, and we're gonna start with verse 1. Okay? Chapter 37, verse 1 is where we start. Let's say our blessing, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, good, beautiful. All right, Vayeshev, Yeshev, what does it? Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 37, verse 1. Everyone's good?
Page 243, maybe.
246.
In which book are you in?
Lower.
And that one, okay, perfect. Parsha Vayeshev. Everyone sees it? Okay, great. All right. Yud Shin Vet, Yeshev means in Hebrew to sit, to dwell, to be settled. Vayeshev, that's the name of our Torah portion. Also keep that in mind. Most Torah portions, the names come from the first word or for the first 2 or 3 words of the Torah portion itself. This Parsha begins with Vayeshev, that's the name of it. But if we think about thematically what's going to happen here, it's an interesting contrast and contradiction in and of itself, the name of the Parsha. Vayeshev, Jacob was settled. Vayeshev, and we sat. Okay, keep it in mind. Vayeshev Yaakov. Now Jacob was settled in the land where his father had sojourned, the land of Canaan. Jacob, remember, who became Israel last week, but is now being referred to as Yaakov, Jacob. Remember, we talk about that flip-flop. It happens right throughout the Torah. Jacob is settled where?
Canaan.
Right, which would mean what?
Israel.
Israel, which would mean what?
It's home.
Our home.
Home, our home.
I don't see any Palestinians.
Right, yeah,
We'll get there.
I see no one yet. I see Yaakov and his boys, right? Okay. Vayeshev Yaakov, Jacob was settled in the land of Canaan. What was the promise of the covenant? I will take you there. You'll stay there. What happens? We are settled here. We stay here. Yaakov, Yisrael is settled in Canaan, right? One could assume the story's over. You think about it,
We
made it.
Boring, though.
right? We made it. Well, only 37 chapters in our Torah, okay?
Boring.
So I want you to think about, these are those moments on a lifelong journey that I want you to think about as we progress through this text. I find this portion so fascinating because of these little tiny nuances that force us to ask these kinds of questions. They're settled there.
And this is just proof that we're not occupiers, we were there first.
Okay, here we all are, we all said it, and now it roots us in the land, right? It roots us in the land. There we are, right?
Year-wise, when was this?
Year wise?
Like, what year were we here with Jacob, most likely? Rough guess.
Before.
What century?
Early on.
BCE.
I mean, this is even before, I mean, this is like, even before that, I mean, this is,
Right.
it also depends on what you're, I mean. It's a complex question in the sense of. If you're saying, who wrote the text?
No, I'm saying,
But you have to say that, cause if it's like God wrote, like, let's say if it's divinely or theologically written, that's a different time period. If you're saying that it was written by someone who was already in Israel during the temple, during the second temple, like you have contextually when this was written. We know the Mishnah is 2nd century, that's already commenting on this text, which is far earlier, like I can't give you a
just wanna
date.
know when Jacob settled.
I can't give you a date.
Oh. Let's say we got there at this time.
It's beginning,
You know,
very sheet.
Usually in all these books, there's a timeline somewhere in an appendix. I'm not looking at the book, but usually there is a timeline in the back of the appendix A, B, C, D. It'll tell you exactly when, or it'll tell you the Jewish year.
I mean,
You can do the math.
there is no exactly when, it's also based on you know, you can look up like from, if there are any archaeological findings that would root
Right.
this particular character, but again, it's up to, it's both, but it's based on multiple factors, meaning archaeology, meaning, when was this first being there in this particular place? How do we know that that's Jacob? There's also other markers and milestones you can say is the Kever Rachel, the grave of Rachel, because that would be a good indicator as to time. So you can look up all of those things. I don't have an exact date for you. You can absolutely look that up, but I would look at like, what are the findings around Kever Rachel, the grave of Rachel?
And we're,
Yeah, we do know where the Kever Rachel's have run. And that, we still make pilgrimages to Hebron for that. That's where you also get like the red strings that'll give those a Kever Rachel, the grave of Rachel. Right, like that's, that would be a good indicator to sort of chronologically go back to see where we are here, right?
like,
Because,
pretty time though.
well, it's not pre-time, it's time. Okay, Jacob settled. He's in the land, okay? It's. I hear what you're saying, but we're gonna focus here. Kever Rachel, I would look there and you can go backwards. Ela Toldot Yaakov, then this is the line of Jacob. At 17 years of age, Joseph tended the flocks with his brothers as a helper to the son of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And Joseph brought bad reports of them to their father. Okay? Already we got some surus in the family. Okay, Jacob is telling on his brothers to his family, to his father, right? He's the reporter of what's always going on. Now look at this, verse 3. V'Yisrael ahav et Yosef. Now Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons. Dory?
Well, I think your comments was that meaning, I would say now Israel, meaning God. Meaning God had the connection to Joseph, not just Jacob, the father. That's my interpretation.
Okay, so we have a difference here, right? So in 2 verses before, he's known as Yaakov. 2 verses later, he's known as Yisrael. There's a shift. The author is making some kind of a statement, right? Dory sees it as a more global statement, a divine statement. And here in the text, Israel loved Joseph best of all of his sons. Okay, he was his child of old age, and he made him an ornamented tunic, which we know as the coat of many colors. Okay, the language is very interesting here. Number 1, the rabbis are going to comment to say, not a great idea to choose a favorite of your children. They say it. They said, not a great idea. Like this already, we have a challenge here. No one should show favoritism to one of their children over the other. And not just not to say it, but he's going to demonstrate that favoritism in many ways. Number 1, by distinguishing Joseph and giving Joseph something that truly makes him stand out amongst the others. Okay? The Torah then says, not only is he the favored, but he is because he was this child of old age. Some of the Rashi will say too, that in addition, that Joseph, when Jacob looked at Joseph, he saw himself. That Jacob saw Joseph as a true, like mini-me, like a mini him, right? That physically he resembled Jacob, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, he resembled Jacob. And so he had this attachment to him. Rashi and some of the other commentators are trying to understand, like, what is this all about? Why is this something that's being said and being specifically said here in when we talk about the brothers? Jack?
You know, right off the bat, I think the family dysfunction is shown. I mean, normally the Behor is the oldest son. You would expect the lineage to start from the oldest son down to the youngest son. But here he puts Joseph first, which is out of line. Not only that, but he claims that he favors him because he's a child of his old age. We know that's not true. We know he favors Joseph because he loves Rachel more than he loves Leah.
Wow.
I love Jack. We know that's not true. I love your strength on that commentary there, Jack. I love it, right? So yes, all those, and it's right, like all those things that you're mentioning are true and have been referenced in multiple commentaries. This when we talk about why why Jacob had this affinity for Joseph and Benjamin, by the way. Benjamin is the youngest, actually, right? Both Joseph and Benjamin were the children of Rachel. Rachel dies in childbirth, having Benjamin, okay, along the way. So she's not buried in the cave of Machpelah, where the matriarchs, the patriarchs. She has her own kever, her own grave site in Hebron, because she passes away as they're still on their journey, and they bury her there. The interesting thing here too, that we want to pay attention to, is the dynamic between Yisrael and Joseph. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, Jack, in terms of the order of the children, we know that this is not the first instance where that's the case, right? Like when we think all the way back to Abraham, right? Ishmael is the first son, Isaac is the second, Jacob himself is the second to Esau. The blessing goes to the second as opposed to the first. It's going to happen, it's going to follow the lineage of our patriarchs. This is not the end of that story. Fast forward till we get to the end of the book of Genesis. Joseph's children, Ephraim and Manasseh, it's the same situation. They're blessed. Ephraim is actually the youngest, Manasseh is the oldest. But the order that we recite the blessing, may your sons be like Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim is actually the youngest, right? What we will get there eventually, but actually the way that Jacob blesses Ephraim and Manasseh is he intentionally crosses his arms to bless them out of order. Right, so all of these are intentional steps along the way. Okay, verse 4. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of his brothers, they hated him, so they could not speak a friendly word to him. Like, no shocker there, right? When the brothers see how their father treats the other, that doesn't make them feel great about themselves or the situation, right? But notice the emotional language in the text. The word ahav, love. Mikol ahav, from all the brothers. Okay? Vayisneu, look at this word, and they hated him, right? This is the actual word here. Right? To be hateful. Hate. I mean, it's a strong word. Not like did not like him, right? The text is being very definitive in its use of this word. Who has that? Yeah, Spencer.
Jealousy can be a really strong emotion and can lead to other strong emotions and maybe desperate or radical actions.
Definitely.
Obviously, they're jealous.
Well, we're gonna get ready to see it too. Here we go. Vayachalom Yosef, and Joseph had a dream. Who does that remind us of? Jacob, his brother. Once Joseph had a dream which he told to his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream which I have dreamed. They were binding sheaves in the field when suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf." There are things that you should share with people, and there are things that you shouldn't share. It's like a life lesson here, okay? His brothers answered, "Do you mean to reign over us? Do you mean to rule over us?" And they hated him even more for his talk about his dream. Now, this actual Parsha contains a lot of foreshadowing that's important for us to remember. Is that what you're gonna talk about, Bobby? Go ahead.
It's a premonition, I mean, it's foreshadowing and what's going to happen.
And
So really,
what?
it was God planting that dream into Joseph, and it wasn't.
You and Dory have a,
It wasn't really his, he shouldn't have opened his mouth, but it wasn't It wasn't personal, it was God telling him what was gonna happen.
Right, brothers don't technically love to be in relationship with a brother who thinks he's a prophet. Okay, right, like not a great selling point for brotherly love, but
And Aaron got along, okay,
yeah, but Moses didn't go to Aaron to say I'm a prophet,
fair enough.
right? Like Joseph here is basically saying like, okay, God's appearance may telling me these things that you're gonna rule. However, when we know, as we know the story of once they're eventually in Egypt,
But it's family, the sheep is gonna fall down.
right, so which is also foreshadowing to Egypt, to when Joseph is in Egypt and his ability to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, which will happen next week in Parsha Miketz. Yeah.
Do the brothers feel this is like the song to dream the impossible dream?
They think he's impossible, that's for sure. Okay. Vayachalom od chalom acher. He dreamed another dream. And guess what he did? He told his brothers, saying, look, I had another dream. This time, listen to this. The sun, the moon, and not only this, 11 stars were bowing down to me. One, 11, one for each and every one of you, my brothers, 11 brothers, bowing down to me, right? Wow, safety recalling as if this is,
It's fine.
right? Oh, Jack, go ahead.
I would just like to ask a question on verse 2, where Joseph is playing with his brothers, not Leah's sons, but the others. He was relegated to these. He refers to those two people, those two women, as his wives. Is that the first time that's ever mentioned? I mean, they are concubines.
I'm gonna look in the Hebrew, one
It said
second.
the lads was with the sons of Bilhah and
Yeah.
and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. I mean, they now make these two concubines equal to Leah and Rachel.
Right, yes, I mean, so
I mean,
technically, so if you look at the translation of the actual word in the Hebrew, which is, where am I? Nisei. Hold on, I wanna get the word for you here, Nishay, right? It comes from the Isha, right, which is woman, wife, female, wife, like it's a word that's used for both, so you can translate it as the wives, the women of, like, right, like, and also he had sons by them, he had children by them too. So it was all part of his, it wasn't unusual to have more than one, obviously, as the two wives of Rachel and Leah, too. But these were, they had a certain status here, right? They're known as the maidservants of the wives too. But the word can be translated either as woman, wife, it comes from the same from the same source.
So basically, it's the redactors and that have changed the meaning of that sentence.
Every translation that you look at or read is can change the essence of the meaning of, and also grant a certain, they're making a comment, right? Translation is commentary in and of itself. So. Okay. Here we go. All right, now here we go. This is interesting. V'saper el aviv, and when he told it to his father and brothers, his father berated him. What, he said to him, is the dream you have dreamed? Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow low to you to the ground? So his brothers were wrought up at him, and his father kept the matter in mind. Okay, really, really interesting. It doesn't have Jacob doesn't have a reaction to the first dream. It's the second dream that he has a reaction to. Doesn't sit well with him. The father.
Did he tell his father the first dream or just his brothers?
It says here just the brother.
Right, says
Yeah.
the brothers, okay.
Family's got something, probably.
Right, I'm sure he had some inkling and idea, right? This is just very interesting, okay? When his father learns of this dream, he has a reaction. He has a gut reaction to the dream and to his son sharing it with the children and wondering, saying, are you setting up a distinction between us and you? Now, what's interesting is that, again, it is foreshadowing because they are going to come and bow low to him and desire and need something of him in order for them to have food, to find safety, right? And then come into knowing and awareness of who Joseph has become. But what's fascinating about this text too, at the end on 12, that his father, Shamar et Davar. Shamor comes from the same, like a shomer, someone who watches, who guards. A shomer is like a security guard, or shomer, someone who watches and sits with someone who has passed away. They call it a shomer and recite psalms over them until they're buried. It's like a watch guard. They're gonna play, like, watch and protect and guard. So it's not just he's gonna remember. They didn't use the word zachar. They didn't use the word remember here, which is interesting language. Shamar et davar. He's gonna watch and keep guard of this information, not just remember it. Yes.
Does he worry based on past family that they might try to do something to Joseph? Yeah, Jacob has a, things happened in the family earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, like anything, whether he's thinking that it's gonna be something dramatic or not, no one wants there to be strife amongst the family or amongst the children, right? But Yehuachav. So one time when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flock at Shechem, Israel, Vayomer Yisrael Yosef, Israel says to Joseph, your brothers are pasturing at Shechem. Come, I will send you to them. He answered, Vayomer lo hineni. Here I am. Okay. Remember, all these words are important to remember. Vayomer lo, and he said to him, go and see how your brothers are, how the flocks are faring, and bring me back word. So he sent him from the valley of Hebron when he reached Shem. Now this is such, everyone pay attention to verse 16. Vayimatsehu ish. A man came upon him, ish, wandering in the fields. The man asked him, what are you looking for? Vayomer, he answered, I am looking for my brothers. Could you tell me where they are pasturing? Vayomer ha'ish, the man said, they have gone from here, for I have heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers and found them at Dothan. Okay. What is happening here? Marcia?
Again, just a man just shows up in the middle of the desert and happens to know where his brothers are. And when they just say a man, the last time it was a man, was it God? Was it himself? Was it? And so it's the same thing. Who is this man?
Beautiful. Okay, now you're thinking like Torah commentators. The first question is, Miaish, who is this man? Who is the man? Okay, that's one. Bobby?
Well, I was wondering in line 12, in line 13, why is Jacob called Israel at that point and not Jacob?
Right. Right.
Is it because God is going to appear?
Okay. Right, so that's the next question. What in this particular chapter is suggesting to us why the name is changing and for what, why is it, and at what points is it suggesting something that we should focus on? Okay, yes?
But why would God send him to his death?
Oh, very interesting. Okay, so why would he send him to the brothers?
Who were gonna kill him?
Right, who's something bad is gonna happen. This could have been a redirect moment, right? Oh, I think they went this way, right? Don't go into the pit, go this way, okay? Very good, good question, Tori.
When the man says they're in Dothan, it's like when you're a kid and you say you're going to your friend's house to sleep over, and then you and your friends, or you and someone else, go somewhere else. And then for some reason.
I never did that, Dory.
I don't believe that.
So is everyone in my family. So, but I'm just saying that, or if you're even a parent, you have to, now they have trackers, so you know where your kid is, whether they tell you whatever, but it's like setting, they went somewhere, your dad knew they were at Shechem, not that they're at Dotan, and.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on, very good. This is a critical reading of the text, okay? That's what we're looking for here, because most often, we would read very quickly over these verses. It's not like, it doesn't seem on its surface, on the shot level of the text, on the simple reading of the text, that this is consequential at all. Okay, so he's wandering, he passes someone, hey, did you see a group of boys? Yeah, they're this way, great, thanks so much, and keep moving, right? But as we are critically reading the text, the first thing that they say, Joseph receives very clear instructions from his father. Your brothers are at Shechem. Go to them. And he says, okay, Hineni. Then he's walking. Okay, he starts walking. And he says, when he reaches Shechem, he looks around. Who does he see? Not his brothers. He sees an Ish. They're not there. Okay?
But they're sheep, they wander, it's not like they stay in one place, they go to get the best grass, or if the grass was eaten there, they go somewhere else.
Right, but he wouldn't have known that, right?
Right.
There's a moment here of a redirect. There's an intentional moment in that the text is describing for us that is a moment in which makes us pause to say something is happening here to redirect Joseph. He could have just said, okay, they're not here, and gone home. Hey, Dad, they weren't there. He doesn't, right? This Ish appears, okay? So like many of you have said, number one, the word Ish is intentional, because especially with Jacob, we've seen this happen before, that the Ish comes upon him. It suggests something of a divine nature, especially with the wording, right? That there is this Ish, whether it's an angel, whether it's God, whatever it is, but angels, remember, only go out into the world unless God sends them, right? As part of the heavenly court. So he's there. Now, what he asks him is really fascinating here, okay? The man asks him,
What do you look
Okay.
at? How would you know he's looking?
right? So isn't that interesting? Joseph doesn't approach the Ish and ask and start the conversation. The Ish says, what are you looking for? What does Joseph say? I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are pasturing? And he says, oh yeah, they've gone from here. I heard them say, right? Let us go to Dotan. So Joseph followed his brothers on and found them there, okay? So this one moment in the text keeps the story going, directs us the directionality. Ish moves Joseph in the direction of the brothers, keeps the story going, and takes us to this next very troubling moment, okay? Which we're gonna look at. They saw him from afar, the brothers saw him from afar, and before he came close to them, they conspired to kill him. They said to one another, here comes that dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits, and we can say, a savage beast devoured him. We shall see what comes of his dreams. But when Reuben heard it, he tried to save him from them. And he said, let us not take his life. And Reuben went on, shed no blood. Cast him into that pit out in the wilderness, but don't touch him yourselves, intending to save him from them and restore him to his father. When Joseph came upon his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the ornamented tunic that he was wearing, took him and cast him into the pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. Then they sat down to a meal. So disturbing. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels bearing gum, balm, and ladanum to be taken to Egypt.
Latinum, is that opium?
Laudanum.
Latinum, is that opium? Is that
Pretty much,
Okay,
yeah, pretty much.
alrighty. It's quite a caravan. Then Judah said to his brothers, "What do we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let us not do away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother and our own flesh." His brothers agreed. When the Midianite traders passed by, they pulled Joseph up out of the pit, sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who brought Joseph to Egypt. We're going to stop there for a second. What do we learn about the brothers, the dynamic, and this episode right here that we've just read?
I don't know that we learn it, but I'm wondering, does Reuben and some of the other brothers say, well, if we kill him because we don't like him, are we gonna start killing each other? Maybe we should just like cast them off and give them a chance at making it, because God forbid we turn on each other later.
Okay, that could be one perspective for sure.
Not to be leaders.
Yeah, they do, right? And what's interesting here is you have two different brothers who feel differently from the group, right? So what's fascinating is that we're getting to learn a little bit about the brothers now. We'll get to know more about them when they go into Egypt and they're looking to flee the famine. But here, in the beginning of this chapter, they were grouped as one. All the brothers felt this way. All the brothers heard him and hated him. Now, all of a sudden, we start to see some individualization happening here. There's an emotion, we see some sort of an emotional element to the brothers. Maybe we shouldn't, he is our own flesh and blood. Let's not do that to him. What do we gain by doing that? Right? There's some interesting conversation and dynamic, and Reuben and Judah rise amongst the group, right? And they're basically saying they're starting to feel something, right? Okay, they are starting to feel something.
No, I mean, that's what I'm telling you. Do we really wanna kill him?
Right. Well, they say we don't want to kill him, right? Let's figure something else out.
I have a little nagging question.
Oh.
He's 91 years old. Does anybody question that he is the father? I mean, he is 91 when he's born, so
We don't know that.
Age
It's
doesn't.
Jacob?
mean anything.
Who's if Jacob's the father, you mean?
right.
Oh.
Jacob, it says that Jacob was 91 when he had Joseph.
Right.
91?
Sarah.
Same with Abraham, right? Like,
Right.
I don't know, it's an age of miraculous childbirth, the 90s in the Bible. The 90s is the new 20 in the Bible.
But nobody questions.
Not
nobody-
necessarily. No, there's no questioning of whether or not he's the father or not necessarily. That I've not read any commentary on that. And it's not unusual. It fits within the narrative, like contextually, like Abraham and Sarah were in their 90s when they had Isaac. So like it's not unusual. I know it's annoying. For sure it's annoying. No problem. For sure it's annoying.
It says that they're gonna sell to the Ishmaelites.
Hold on, I'm sorry, which
So it's saying we're gonna sell them to the Ishmaelites and then they sell them to a Midianite.
okay.
Is that the same, is it different, what's
So
the?
that's an interesting distinction in the text, okay? So let's read it again,
27, come let us sell them to the Ishmaelites.
right, okay. So they sat down, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, and their camels were bearing all of these things. What do we gain by killing him? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let us not do away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother. When a Midianite traders passed by, they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites. So who sold who? This is like who's in trance to thing, right? Who sold him?
Midianites.
Yeah. Interesting.
And the Ishmaelites are their cousins.
They're all,
They're all cousins.
they're all,
I have a question. The Ishmaelites are from Ishmael. Are the Midianites from Asa? Who are the?
yes, yes.
So you have lines of brothers, cousins. But it distinctly says who's who, like it distinctly says, kind of like, we're still dealing with, and actually, if you wanna talk about who owns the land and who should be there, this is very much a story of even where we are. You know, there are the Ishmaelites and the Midianites, and they're the brothers, you know, the relatives of these other brothers. And then there's us, so we definitely deserve to be in that trio there. You know, I'm just saying, more so than just be settled in Canaan, right? So, I mean, but
I'm with
it's
you.
kind of funny that, you know, these are the brothers of all these people who have been cast off. Just saying.
Just saying, okay.
Just saying.
You got a lot of
Wow,
cousins.
a lot of it, just saying here, okay, look at what Rashi says on the text, alright? Because part of like our language of telling the story, if you think about like when you first learned this story or what you heard with the story, we always teach it that the brother sold him. That's not what the text says. Rashi comments too, right? So here's the Rashi here, right? And there passed by Midianites. This was another caravan. Scripture, the Torah indicates that he was sold several times. Okay? Because they're asking the same question. Someone's asking the question, well, wait a second, I thought the brother sold him. Rashi's commenting, well, actually, he was sold several times. Okay? And they drew up, the sons of Jacob drew him up from the pit, and they sold him to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites to the Midianites, and the Midianites into Egypt. That's Midrash Tanhuma. So there is a conversation amongst the rabbis to say, wait a minute, the text actually doesn't say that the brothers sold him. They suggested that idea. Let's sell him, right? Rashi's saying, well, yeah, and he was sold multiple times by multiple people. Jack?
No, had always questioned this, and then many people who look into this say that if you ask 10 people who sold Joseph, they would say his brother sold him. So that's kind of pushed by the rabbis that teach it today. However, they claim in studying this that basically that's not true. The question I have is, why do the rabbis say that?
Why did the rabbis say which part?
Why do the rabbis who teach this in Hebrew school say
Yeah.
that the brothers sold Joseph?
So it's interesting because I brought up the Ibn Ezra, and I think the Ibn Ezra can help us understand that. So here it says, and there passed by, when the Ishmaelite merchantman passed by them, scripture refers to the Ishmaelites as Midianites, because the Midianites are called Ishmaelites. The book of Judges similarly says concerning the kings of Midian, because they were Ishmaelites. So what Ibn Ezra is suggesting is that the Midianites and the Ishmaelites are one and the same. So you could argue that the brothers sold them, right? Because they're all the same person. It's all the same group, the same caravan. It's also a misnomer. I mean, you could say that they discussed selling them, but actually the text in and of itself doesn't say that, right? It says that they were sold by, that the Ishmaelites sold them. But let's read the Hebrew first. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let's not do away with him ourselves. Vayavru anashim midyanim, vayalu et Yosef. Okay, that's what it says. This is interesting. Vayavru anashim midyanim, and when the Midianite traders passed them by, socharim vayim shechu vayalu et Yosef. They pulled out Joseph, not the brothers. Min Habor from the pit.
Well, how do you know who the they is?
Well, that's the thing. The only they right now
Refers to the.
is the Midianites. However, you could argue from the text that the next line you could argue is the brothers. It's not particularly clear in this section, because the problem is that it goes back and forth from Ishmaelite to Midianite. What Ibn Ezra is saying is no, they are the same. So the people who passed by, Ishmaelite, Midianite, they're the same, they just pulled him out of the pit. And they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites who brought Joseph to Egypt. The they, as Ibn Ezra is describing, and most Torah commentators are describing, refers to the brothers. The change is the one and of the same is Midianite and Ishmaelite is read as the same. So they sold him to the Ishmaelites, which is also the Midianites. So the Midianite wouldn't be selling it to the Midianite. The Ishmaelite wouldn't be selling to the Ishmaelite, right? That the text, the rabbis are saying that the they is actually the brothers. But you could make the argument that they weren't. You could also read the text as saying, well, wait a minute, there are 3 groups involved here, not just 2. Meaning the brothers, the Ishmaelites, and the Midianites.
Commas make a big difference,
Commas make a difference for sure.
but there are no commas.
There are no commas, no,
There's commas in this English, but there's no comma in the.
In the Hebrew. Right? So you could read the text in 2 different ways. That's the beauty of the text. Obviously, it was a conversation because Ibn Ezra and Rashi both are commenting on it to discern who is the seller and who received the.
The originator of this whole process is the brothers. The
Yes,
brothers did not kill him. The brothers' idea was to sell him. So they originated that idea of selling him. So that's why they get blamed for it.
probably, right? Yeah, I mean, they're the ones that came up with the idea and he said.
Somebody pulled him out of the pit, the question is, who's the they?
Right. I mean, the interest, right, so you can say, when the Midianite passed by, they see them coming, the brothers pull them out, look, we have someone for sale. Right? They sold them for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites. For Ibn Ezra, he believes it's clear because they're also referred to, Midianites are referred to later on in the book of Judges 8:24, the Midianites are referred to as Ishmaelites. So he's saying they're the one and the same. Okay,
Didn't Moses go to Midian too?
he marries a woman from Midian, yeah, that's his wife is a Midianite. Yitro is the chief of the Midianites, his father-in-law. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw Joseph was not in the pit, oh, here's a twist of events, right? Vayishav Reuben, when Reuben returned to the pit and saw Joseph wasn't in the pit, he rent his clothes. What does Reuben believe happened?
Yeah.
That he died. Where was Reuben?
There was no evidence of his body, so obviously somebody came and took him.
Or we don't know, was it in, who knows, right? For him, his immediate reaction was, oh my God, right? Gosh.
He was a tasty thing to that beast because he ate the bones too.
But I'm just, right, like his immediate reaction is, oh my Lord, like, look what just happened here. And he rents his garments. Returning to his brother, he says, Reuben says, the boy is gone. Now what am I to do?
Well,
Then they took Joseph's tunic, slaughtered a kid, and dipped the tunic in the blood.
A kid?
A lamb, it's like a lamb, a baby goat,
Okay.
a baby goat. They had the ornamented tunic taken to their father, and they said, we found this, please examine it. Is it your son's tunic or not?
Oh, come on.
He recognized it and said, my son's tunic, a savage beast devoured him. Joseph was torn by a beast. So let's look at this link. What happens here? Who knows what? Who doesn't know? What's happening here? In the beginning of the chapter, the brothers are seen as one unit. The outlier being Joseph. Here, all of a sudden, the text is making a distinction between that with Reuben.
Yeah.
Reuben comes back, sees he's gone, rents his garment as if he's in mourning, stating, our brother was killed. The brothers then say, wait a minute, They don't say, no, he wasn't, we sold him. They don't say that. They don't say to Reuben, no, don't worry, we just sold him. We didn't kill him, he didn't die. We sold him. That is not cleared up amongst the brothers. Another group of the brothers whom we don't know, say, well, let's
cover it up.
let's figure this out, right? Figure this out. Now the tunic is there, and they create an elaborate plan to bring the news back to their father, right? Now let's see what happens with the father.
Would,
Oh, Jack, sorry, go ahead.
just a question, would they be surprised that the brother wasn't in the pit if they had sold him?
Well, that's what we're saying.
Right.
Like-
Therefore, it was basically the Midianites who sold them to the Ishmaelites, or you want to call them the same group, I don't. But they're the ones that sold them, not the brothers, even though they had an intent, they didn't do it.
Right, so that's another part of the story. If you follow the plot line, we have multiple plot lines happening here, okay? If you follow the plot line, that the brothers placed him in the pit, then went over and had some food and were trying to figure out what they were gonna do with him. And before they could actually act on any of their plans, the Midianite Ishmaelites come by, pull him from the pit. One group sells him to the other group. They move on, Joseph's gone. The brothers finish up their meal, take a little walk, come back to the pit, Joseph's gone. Now they have to say to themselves, now this is really problematic. Either he's been killed, either he's been taken. One way or another, we don't have Joseph. And we have to solve for that problem. Dory, then Marcia.
If the brothers didn't actually sell Joseph and he was pulled from the pit by the Midianites,
Yes.
I think when they show up, however many years later, it's a lot more palatable to forgive your brothers if they were not the ones who pulled you from the pit and sold you. If they happen to say, oh, we're mad, and it also shows that sometimes you should have a good meal and think things over. And never have to go back.
Jewish.
Yeah, it's like, right, so maybe sometimes it's good to, when you're in anger.
But don't leave someone in a pit for too long with caravans of.
To have to wither away and die of dehydration, but, maybe just teach them a lesson. But then, if you're eating or you're maybe tending to your flock somewhere, wherever they are, it might be that if the Midianites pulled them out, or if whoever pulled them out and sold him, it might be a little more palatable so many more years later when they show up. He knows what they did, but if it wasn't them who actually sold him, it's a little easier to swallow and be a good brother.
That's a very interesting, right, so that's very interesting. So this little episode here is also gonna inform and help us to understand the reunion that's gonna happen later on. Also, interestingly enough too, all of this that's happening and all of this sort of scheming, understanding, all these like complex things that are happening also could help us to understand Joseph too, who doesn't come out and say to the brothers, I am Joseph. There's a whole shtick that goes on there too, hiding the cup in Benjamin's back, like forcing them to come back, like he plays them too.
Yes.
Right, trying to figure all this out. Now, one, you could say, well, yeah, sure he did, they sold him off in slavery.
Right.
Or he could say, they thought that I was dead. Right, like all of those things now could easily be true because of this there's room here for interpretation. There's room here for different permutations of the relationship between Joseph and his brothers. We don't have to necessarily jump to the conclusion that they killed him, that they sold him. They put him in a pit to try to figure out what they were gonna do with him. And bad things happened after that.
One other question, does the thing with Ina, that happens after when they're heading off to Egypt, right? That didn't happen before.
No, that happens later on.
Later, so my question is, the way the brothers behave, the certain ones that eventually didn't get a blessing from Jacob. Could it be that those were instigators in this situation, like their character flaw or flaws showed through, and maybe they were the perpetrators here as well? I don't know if that was ever looked at, I don't know the Torah that well.
Okay, interesting, hold on, did you have your hand up, Marcia? Go ahead, and then I have to get to Jack.
Might be interesting, when Joseph was coming up to them, they saw him from a distance, far enough away so that they had this whole conversation. But a caravan of Midianites come and they don't see anything.
Very interesting, right, what's that all about, right, it's
There's
vague,
no dust, there's no, you know.
right, there's no music, right, like where's the underscore to get us all so pumped up, right, like what's really happening, right, for sure. It's curious, it's also the character of Reuben is very interesting here too, how he emerges twice in this episode. That again causes it shows the text here is showing something that it doesn't often show, which is that emotional element too. Right, Reuben sees what happens and immediately he rends his garment, he's in mourning. Right, he displays this outward reaction to demonstrate this loss. That's his first reaction, which we're gonna see here. Vayikra Yaakov. Jacob rent his clothes, put sackcloth on his loins, and observed mourning for his son many days. What is the name of the ribbon that we put on when we lose someone?
Kriya.
A kriya ribbon. Same here, right? This is where it comes from. All right, Vayikra, a kriya ribbon. The kriya is the rending of the garment, right? You rend that garment as an outward display to those around you that I am in mourning by wearing that kriya. Vayikra, to tear, and he tears his clothes, right? To say now he is in mourning and sits for the days of mourning.
I have a question. So when was this written?
Yes, you do.
Who was it written by? And how many years was it written from the incident of Joseph? So there was an incident with Joseph, somebody wrote about it. And my question is, who wrote it and what was the number of years? And how many-
Yeah,
What?
so that's a whole other course in terms of, it's a whole other course there's different, if you wanna sit and only talk about when was something written, I have fabulous books and sources to give to you that you can read.
Okay.
Because it also, there's multiple, if you're going to put on your lens of scholarship to say that the Torah was written by human hands, then there are multiple authors. You can see through the text in the Hebrew, not the English. You have to study it through the Hebrew to recognize when the authorship is differentiated. That's a whole other course in terms of, and I would recommend you read Robert Alter. He is the foremost scholar on that type of discussion. Jack and then Spencer.
Well, you know, when I look at the story, I find it extremely interesting and almost the point of the story to me is that an unknown stranger has enabled the nation of Israel to develop.
Exactly
At
right.
end,
That's the whole thing.
I think that the book of the story of Joseph, as the book of Ruth, does not really mention God. However, God is still directing this, as we see. And no matter what happens, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that stranger that directed Joseph on what to do and where to find his family.
That was my drosh at the end, Jack. So amen, Batman, Yashatol.
Sorry about that.
That was my whole drosh. You're coming for me, right? That's to me, I think that's really one of the most important and profound reminders for us as we read this story. You can get into the weeds of which is an important piece because it helps you to understand and contextualize the story. But if we look at the deeper meaning of the text and we want to pull out the drosh, like of the text, what this is telling us every step along the way is that you as one person can make a tremendous difference. That you as one human being can help pivot, shift, alter, and create an incredibly new and imagined piece of this world. That you have the ability to change, create change, to shift, to alter, to inform, to learn, and to imagine something completely new. You as one individual can change lives for good or not so good. Not just your own life, but the lives of others. That it can be one person and one moment can alter and shift and change the course of history. In this Parsha, it is so clear and it happens more than once. But that Ish in the field is the reason why we get to Egypt. It's the reason why we are there, right? We get there and not just thrive there, but then we also grow and multiply there. We then become a threatening force to the Pharaoh who changes, who does not know Joseph, right? That's an intentional line. And as a result are enslaved there, which then thus begins the story where we will be redeemed and begun this 40-year journey towards the promised land that helps us to be formed and transformed into Am Yisrael, to the people of Israel. All of it took that Ish standing in the field to direct Joseph to his brothers, which then begins the entire chapter of the story that gets us to Egypt and eventually leads us into the next book of Torah, into Exodus and to Shemot. Because this one Ish was standing there that said, actually, they're dead, they're over there. They're this way. Go that way, right? It's a little brief verse in the Torah, but it shapes and alters our story and leads us into the next book and the next chapter of our journey. It's a powerful reminder for each and every one of us that as an individual and as a member of the world, as an active participant in our tradition and in our faith and in the way that we see one another, ourselves, and our impact, is that we do have the power to make an impact. And not to just feel like we're one person, what can we do? You can do so much. Shabbat shalom.
I asked my question to you after.
See you all later.
Shabbat shalom.
Oh, and happy early Hanukkah. Hanukkah begins on Sunday night. I hope that it is truly a festival of light, and may you be inspired to ascend in light and bring more light